Okay, everybody, welcome to the program. This is the Otherppl Show, and I'm Brad Listi. I'm here in Los Angeles. Thanks for being here. Hope you're okay out there, wherever you happen to be. Don't forget to subscribe to this show wherever you listen. You can also subscribe on YouTube, and you can follow me on Instagram and Bluesky. Today's Sunday, so it is time for another Character Studies episode. Character Studies are conversations with ordinary human beings. It's me interviewing civilians who appear on this show anonymously, and we talk about their lives. So I've got a good one for you. It's coming up in just a couple of minutes. Today's episode is brought to you by Mary Sue Rucci Books, publisher of the debut novel Tilt by Emma Pattee. Emma Pattee is going to be my guest on this show on Tuesday. Tilt is the official April pick of the Otherppl Book Club. That is my book club. You can sign up for it over at otherppl.com. And it is a gripping and unsettling novel. It's intense. It's a page-turner, a propulsive debut, a primal scream of a novel about the disappointments and desires we all carry and what each of us will do for the people we love. Once again, the book is called Tilt, the debut novel by Emma Pattee, available from Mary Sue Rucci Books. So I do a weekly email newsletter. You can sign up for it over at Substack, bradlisti.substack.com. You will hear from me in your inbox once a week. I will tell you about the latest episodes of this show, and I will also share a list of links to things that I have been reading and finding interesting. So sign up for the newsletter if you so desire. And be sure to check out my new company. It's called Deep Dive. The website is www.deepdive.audio. Deep Dive is a company that makes long-form educational audio, and it is going to launch officially later this year. The debut course from Deep Dive is called How to Write a Novel. I'm the host, and the course features more than 50 hours of conversations with dozens of today's leading writers talking with me about how to write a novel. There's never been an audio course about writing quite like this one. I can't wait to share it with you. So check it out. Again, the company is called Deep Dive, and it's going to launch later this year. Okay, it is now time for the main event, my character studies conversation for this week. My guest is a 28-year-old musician named Chase from Baltimore, and we had a really good conversation about his life, his music, his childhood, all of it. And I hope you enjoy it. One more reminder that character studies interviews are first name only, and it's just a conversation with another human being. It's not about self-promotion or recognition. These interviews are anonymous, and it's about learning about other people. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. It is now time for the 7th character study in the history of this program.
Hi, my name is Chase. I'm 28 years old, and I'm a musician. I started playing guitar almost 20 years ago, and I don't remember totally how it happened.
Well, wait, how old would you have been when you started? You 8 years old? You got a guitar?
Yeah, I was young. I was like 7 or 8 years old. Yeah.
Do you come from like a musical family? Like either of your parents musicians?
Yeah, kind of. My dad plays bass and bass and trumpet. And my mom wasn't really musically inclined, but she liked music.
Can she sing?
No, she couldn't sing.
Did your dad teach you? Like when instruments were around the house, you're watching him play. I think that's really usually the way that it goes. Not always, but usually when somebody's really musical, it's in the family, and like they grow up with a parent who's like playing an instrument in the house, and they can see it. It feels possible.
No, I started. My dad had music around the house. Like he was an avid listener of music. He's a Deadhead. Like he was really into the Grateful Dead, and he was one of these guys who in the '70s would like follow them around and bands.
I'm a
and
Deadhead.
Stuff. I
need to know your dad.
Yeah.
So he was seeing them when they were like when Jerry wasn't like fully like broken from heroin, basically.
Yeah. No, he saw them. I mean, at the height of their powers. Yeah.
Wow.
Like a lot.
So do you hate the Dead as a result?
No. I like the Dead. I like jam bands. I'm not crazy in that world anymore. I had a period of time with it when I was in high school. I had friends. I have a really good friend who's into Fish, and so we there was kind of a connection there because I had like the Dead playing in my house a lot, and so we sort of like kind of connected over that. And so then for a little while, I was pretty big into jam band stuff, that whole thing. But
isn't it just? I mean, you're a musical guy, isn't it? Just like this is something that I don't like the term jam band. It makes my skin crawl.
Okay.
I feel like it's become a pejorative. It's just like like code for like dumb white guys who can't get enough of the sound of their own instruments or whatever. But all it really is just like rock and roll essentially inside of like a jazz idiom where there's improvisational stuff happening. That's all.
Definitely.
I mean, so if the Grateful Dead is a jam band, then like John Coltrane is a jam saxophonist, like, right?
I think that there's also some maybe some characteristics of jam band jam music. I don't really know what you call it. Yeah. But I think there's probably some characteristics that make it maybe a little different from something like the jazz world, and that has to do, I think, a lot with that. There is maybe a little bit more of a rock and folk sort of foundation to it, but it is for sure like influenced by jazz music, and I think that a lot of the appeal of a band like Fish or something like that is that people are going to see it, going to see them perform something. It's not so much necessarily about it's not necessarily so much about the songwriting itself. It has more of
it's about the group mind,
fluidity, right? Yeah.
So where were you raised? Where do you come from?
Annapolis, Maryland.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Lifelong Marylander. And
isn't that the home of it's like the home of the Naval Academy, and you're raised by like a deadhead who plays the trumpet. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
A jam trumpeter.
Yeah, pretty much. But they didn't really like raise me with, I think, the ambition that I was going to be a musician. But they had sort of like, they're baby boomers, so I think they kind of come from the sort of old school kind of Americana sort of sense of like, we're gonna raise our kids and they're gonna play sports and they're gonna participate in extracurricular activities and have a good education, and this is like all kind of stuff I think they valued. But music was the thing that stuck with me more than sports or I don't know. Any kind of education or any kind of other activity, really.
It sounds wholesome, this upbringing of yours.
Sure. Yeah. At times.
I mean, at times. Was it ever bad? Did things ever go sideways?
Yeah. I mean, it's life. Stuff always goes sideways. But I have a good relationship with my family, good relationship with my folks. So.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And you're 8 years old or whatever, and you start to get into music. Does that mean you got your first guitar at 8? Is that what it was?
Yeah. We met. I was like a family friend, and the guy was like, I think he died a couple years ago, but they weren't a married couple. They were dating, but he was much older, and it was honestly, reflecting on it, kind of weird. He was much older than her.
Wait, and this is the guy that gave you lessons or gave you a guitar?
He gave me a guitar. He kind of knew that I was into music, and I liked, like, back then I liked like whatever, like, popular rock music was big back then, so it was, I don't know. I think there was like a lot of like stadium rock and like power ballads and like, I don't know, maybe like U2. I remember listening to U2 a lot for whatever reason when I was a kid. That kind of thing was sort of what I was listening to. And then, so that I think my parents told him, like, you know, that was like a thing that I liked. And he was like, okay. And so, yeah, he's like kind of showed me his, this old, acoustic guitar. And he was like, I want you to like learn the Delta blues and you're going to come back and play me some Delta blues. I was like, I don't know anything about this at all.
You're like, look, man, I just want to learn how to play with or without you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Or whatever. I was listening Bon Jovi or whatever, you know. And I've fairness to him, like it kind of did put me on the path because then it stuck after that. And so for years and years, I sort of stuck with playing the guitar.
Were you taking lessons or were you just kind of noodling in your room?
It started with me just kind of noodling in my room, but then, yeah, I think my parents noticed that I really got into it. And then they wanted to give me lessons.
Wow.
Or, you know, yeah, set lessons up for me. And then, yeah, after that, I mean, I mean, when you're a kid, it's not really serious, but then as I got into high school, it changed a little bit. It changed. It was like, it felt like a stronger thing for me now, you know?
Yeah. Like once there are girls in the picture, you're like, you know what?
Well, I learned pretty quickly that girls are actually not interested in guitarists at all, or rock singers at all.
Really?
Yeah. I think now they're like probably like weirded out or scared by them.
By the guy at the party with the acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
He's like barefoot and singing you too.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I feel like that's not true. I feel like women love musicians, guys who can play and sing.
Yeah, but I don't think I learned pretty quickly that like if you're like a shreddery guitarist kind of guy, or like somebody who just like if you're like a guitar player and you've got like a nice amp and like tons of like effects pedals and stuff like that the only people that's going to attract are like 40-year-old white dudes.
Like, a lot of gray ponytails bobbing in the audience. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think I think the mythology of like the rock star is sort of maybe kind of a foregone era or a bygone era, sorry, of that.
My wife can't stand like she calls it noodling. She can't stand it.
Yeah.
She's I mean, like if you play like rhythm guitar or you just like play like a few licks or something, but if somebody like goes off on like some improvisational flight on an electric guitar, she's out the door.
It's fair. Yeah, it's self-indulgent. I think it's self-indulgent. But I do see the value of it in stuff like jam bands and stuff like that. Because I get like I was in that world a little bit when I was in high school.
Yeah. Okay, so getting this guitar was obviously formative. You're still doing it all these years later.
Yeah.
If you think back on your childhood, are there other like things that happened? Like, are there any big things in your early life that you would point to and say like, well, that was formative. That sort of like made me in some ways like what I am?
I mean, I think that like I've definitely dealt with a lot of problems. I don't know how to.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't. Depends on how deep you want to go with it. I had a relationship with a family member that was not very healthy, and I think about that a lot as like a formative experience. Not because it was like a good thing that happened to me, but I think in some ways it sort of helped me become maybe more aware of how to like look for danger, you know, like
so this is like an abusive relationship when
you were
a kid?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it abusive, but manipulative. It was manipulative. Definitely emotionally manipulative. And
how old were you? You were just like what, 7, 8, 9 years old?
High school age.
Okay.
High school age, yeah. And it was it was just very. At that time, I didn't really recognize what was going on, but it was very emotionally a manipulative behavior from somebody, not in my immediate family, but extended family. And I didn't really, I sort of packed it away for a while, but then as sort of like, at a certain point I went into therapy, and it kind of helped me realize like that there was a lot going on in that sort of my relationship with this person that was not right. And
like just like psychologically manipulative.
yeah. It was just, he was emotionally I mean, like he would definitely like yell at me and stuff like that. Sometimes, some points, like call me names and things like that, and that's hard to deal with for anybody. But especially if you're like a impressionable young teenager and you don't know why. Specifically, if it's a member of your family, because they're supposed to protect you and help you, you don't know why they would. You don't know why they would do that to you.
Did you tell your parents?
Yeah, my parents know about him. Yeah, I mean, they know about what that all looked like. Yeah.
But at the time, like, was it private, or was it something that you were like, hey,
no,
by the way,
knew.
They knew.
Yeah. I mean,
did they intervene?
I think, well, okay. So what the problem was that there was, I was not doing well in school at this point in time. And so they brought him into my life to sort of help like tutor me and help me do better in school. But I think it created problems for me developing socially, because it ended up being this all-encompassing thing. And then like it became like a really transactional relationship between us, where it was like, I helped you get through school, so now you have to come help me with something that I'm working on. And then it just kind of went back and forth like this for a while, where our relationship became transactional and stuff like that. And it's sort of spiraled out of control. And by that point I was an adult, and I kind of had to put my foot down and be like, look, enough is enough. Like I had to distance myself,
So was it like you're doing like manual labor or something? Like
yeah. I had to help build a house. I remember that. To help pay for my education. Yeah, I mean, there was stuff like that for a while.
I was expecting you to say like I had to cut the grass, or like,
No, I had
to build an actual house.
I had to help build a house.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, it was a hard period of time, and it started when I was in high school, because I was not doing well in school, and they needed somebody to sort of put me on a better path. But at the same time, I also kind of wish that they didn't, because I think that like the best thing that could have happened for me in that moment was to learn how to fail, which was something that I ended up becoming more afraid of later on in life.
So, okay, so like, why did they bring in this person? Was like, I'm picturing somebody from like a military background. Like, we need to get Chase some discipline. Bring in the guy we're in Annapolis, like bring in the guy from the Naval Academy to like whip him into shape. Was it like that? Or?
No. He's just like a difficult person. He was just like a difficult person who I think had a lot of baggage of his own, emotional baggage of his own. And wanted to put it on other people, or not wanted to. I shouldn't say wanted to. It just was. It's that sort of cycle of abuse thing, where
totally
people hurt people, But I feel like I'm so far removed at this point from all of that I can look at that and say, this is not. I'm able to recognize that now, and it's like a tool I have or something. I can identify that behavior now, whereas before it was completely perplexing to me that like somebody who I'd been told was supposed to sort of be helping me and protecting me was also in a lot of ways hurting me, and emotionally and socially. I had a hard time socially developing for a while because of it.
Like, how did that look? You just had a hard time making friends at school?
Yeah, had a hard time making friends. Yeah.
Because why? You didn't trust people, or?
Yeah, I didn't trust people. I felt um felt maybe a sense of like cynicism about people, that like, yeah, that it was one way or another, it was always going to come back to sort of maybe bite me in the ass or something. Like if I tried to like make friends with people, it was like it would not be worth it, because it would be transactional. It would just be like they wanted something from me. Um, and I had a hard time with that for a long time. Yeah, I couldn't make friends.
You must have been. Did you have some anger at your parents for putting you into touch with this guy and putting you through all this inadvertently?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if resentment is the right word, but sort of a sense of like, I don't know why you were knowing of this, and you didn't feel like much of a need to put your foot down, but I feel like I came out a stronger person for all of it,
Yeah, that's the way that it goes, right?
Yeah.
Like this bad stuff that happens in our lives, it's not pleasant to go through, but
Yeah.
I guess if you push through in a certain way, it sounds like you got some help and you've had some experience with therapy and processing this in like healthy ways, that it can become a kind of like, I don't know, it strengthens those muscles, like those psychological and emotional muscles, and hopefully you don't repeat those kinds of relationships. You probably have not repeated that kind of relationship again, have you?
No, I don't. Honestly, like I really cannot like even imagine. I don't think I have like the same fuse that this person in my life had, to like, we just had such a short fuse, and like such a like lack of patience for people, and like I just don't have that in me, so it's like I feel like, and then but also the other side of it, that like I don't think of my relationships as transactional. That's not how I've never thought of the relationship with my family, even at times when it's been hard for us. I've never thought of it as like they have to do this for me in order for me to regain trust, or anything like that. It's just not. It's not value. Those aren't values I have.
Do you have any siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
You're an only child.
Yeah.
So when you finally make friends?
Yeah.
Like when does that start to happen, and what does that look like?
I mean, a long time. It went a long time. Most of college, I was not making friends. Wait,
where did you go to school?
At Towson University.
Oh, okay, so close to home.
Yeah, a little north of Baltimore. But I had a hard time through college too, because I didn't, and I still don't, like really know what I wanted to do,
And by the way, can I just say that like asking some 18-year-old kid to have a clear vision of what they want. I mean, some people I guess can do it. They have like a really clear idea early on, but most people, I mean, I had no idea. I still maybe don't have any idea. That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that for, I went to community college for a while, and I just felt like I was floundering around. I wasn't doing anything, and I sort of had set this like mental goal in my head that I was like gonna I wanted to make a record. I hadn't done that yet. Like I hadn't really made music. I was a musician, but I hadn't really like written songs. I hadn't made music, really.
But you were playing like other people's music.
Yeah. I had been in some bands, and I had done some. I was in a church band. I went to religious schools for a while.
Yeah, like where are you spiritually? Were you raised in some sort of church, or?
I was raised Episcopalian. These days, I gave up on that on that fairly quickly when I was like 13 or 14. I kind of had like a like a realization that like I learned more about like Christianity and the history of it, like the very messed up sort of controlling nature of the Catholic Church and stuff like that.
Wait, is Episcopalian, is that part of the
different? It's different from Catholicism, but what bothered me was that it was still coming from sort of the same, maybe same spiritual ethos. And I just kind of felt like for a while I kind of felt like, well, I just don't like religion at all because it like starts wars and people suffer from it and people are being manipulated from it and stuff like that. And those were some of like the most nihilistic years of my life. So, nowadays
I might be a nihilist. I'm still sort of like,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. Like, can't we just agree that Jesus was like a great like spiritual teacher and like a wise human being?
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, there's stuff with Christianity that I identify with that's like, even to the extent that like I think it's like kind of great that like people feel like they want to like get together once a week, take time out of their week to like hang out and talk about their values or something like that. But it's all this other stuff where it's like they're not there's no sense of like practicing what you preach. It's like if you're gonna take that time out of your life, there needs to be a certain level of putting your money where your mouth is. And as I went to an Episcopalian school for middle school, and then I went to a Catholic school for high school. And as I went through all of this, I sort of realized like this is not working for me, and I as I've kind of gotten older, I think I've figured out more now that like it's probably more that organized religion itself isn't for me, because I think that there is some validity to like spirituality, but I guess I find myself leaning these days more towards like being an agnostic. Agnosticism is, I don't know if that's the right.
Yeah, I'm kind of there. Like, just I don't know. Like, let me see if something comes down out of the sky and presents itself. I'm willing to believe.
Accept it. Right. Yeah.
But I have not yet been presented with evidence that I find like
compelling.
Airtight. I'm waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did that. Yeah. So I have been a sort of, once I sort of landed on, okay, like agnosticism makes sense for me. That's kind of where I've stayed. But I definitely struggled with it a lot. I felt like my parents weren't super religious growing up, but it was clear that they held sort of some Christian values, and it was clear that they wanted that sort of particular dogma, I guess. I don't know what the word for it would be, in my life, And as I got older, I don't know, I just became more aware of like a lot of the things going wrong in the world. And I grew up, I was a kid during Bush, so that was like hard to like watch us like send the military over to Iraq and Afghanistan and watch people being bombed on the news every night and have a sense of like what kind of God, would let this happen. That was a hard thing to wrestle with as I was growing up.
George Bush, devout Christian.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then they all these conservatives, they're like in the name of Jesus, they're in the name of God still, that's, or whatever it was. Trump said that he was like he felt the hand of a loving God or something like that. It's all bullshit.
Anybody who believes that coming out of his mouth, I
Right.
don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just, you need some help.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I eventually landed on agnosticism as a sort of a belief, because I've never been kind of like, and I don't know if it's because I was raised with this sort of like a Christian, semi-Christian anyway, upbringing, or what it was, but it's hard once that's instilled in you, it's hard to like leave that out of your life. But I've never been like totally on board with the idea either that like there's just nothing out there. I've kind of always sort of felt a sense of like, we're just not smart enough to know, and we just have not been around long enough, and we won't be around long enough to know.
I kind of feel that way too.
Yeah, like I think there's a strong likelihood that there is some kind of higher force or power or whatever that's out there, but there's just no way for us to know, and we're obviously not the people. We're to figure it out.
You think we're gonna find out when we die?
I don't think so. I think it's kind of like, I think when you die, it's probably kind of like when you're what it was like before you were born. It's just nothing there, which isn't so bad.
What about friends? Like we were talking about how you eventually made friends.
Sorry.
When did that happen, where you started to actually like develop like meaningful friendships?
Yeah. Well, I have always kind of like been able to make friends over the internet and stuff like that. So I do have a good group of people that sort of.
Is that the same though as making actual friends?
I always think it's a little different. Like I think for my generation, it's probably easier to understand than for your generation, but I do think it's still a little different. The face-to-face dynamic's not really there, and it's, I don't know, there's just sort of a different kind of like maybe attitude around it. But I was able to always sort of like float from internet circles and like find sort of commonality with people that way.
On what, like on social media or?
Yes, social media, kind of like forums. I used to be like fairly into video games, like online gaming and stuff like that when I was a kid, and so when I was younger, like really up till college, and then I kind of stopped being as interesting to me. But I made friends like through that kind of channel, but it is a different dynamic. I feel like it doesn't have the same. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's just not the same as like being face to face with people.
Well, I was going to say, do you ever see these people? It's one thing to like,
I've met some of them.
Okay.
Before.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, this is weird. Let's go back to being online.
No. I mean, it's actually super great. It's actually a super great feeling when you sort of been talking to somebody a long time, and you don't really know, like, there's a level of anxiety where it's like you don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I've had that. I've found that like when you talk to somebody online and you get to know them through their written work. I mean, I guess as a writer, it's people are posting their stuff. That's what I'm recalling. But what I have found is that when you get to know somebody online and then you meet them in person, I've never once been surprised. I've never once been like, oh, this person is totally different than I was expecting.
Right.
I feel like you can kind of get to know people if you spend enough time online with them. But it's just at a certain point, it's like, okay, we're just two disembodied voices, like chattering at each other.
Yeah. It's not for everybody, for sure. But then when I started like making like meaningful connections, not that those aren't meaningful connections, but when I started like making like more face-to-face connections with people, it sort of happened towards the end of college. And it happened because I was going through a sort of pretty hard time in my life. I was very depressed, and I was not doing well at all. I was honestly feeling suicidal at points. But I met somebody. I met a drummer, somebody who was really kind of helped me sort of actualize some things in my life that I wanted to do, which was like actually like write music and play more music in front of people and stuff like that, which I had done, but it wasn't stuff that I was writing, and it goes back to what I was talking about when I started college, which was that I was like, I'm gonna like sit down and like learn how to produce music and learn how to learn really how to like write stuff. I've got all these ideas for things. And then I kind of, once I started like doing this, I kind of had this like realization of like, I don't know how to do any of this. Like I don't know what I was thinking back then, but it became apparent to me that these are like all separate skills that you have to develop. And so I got really good at being a musician, but I didn't know how to do much of anything else. I didn't know how to write really well. I knew how to jam with people, but I didn't really know how to like write music. I didn't really know how to record or produce stuff. And so it kind of put me in this funk for a while where I was like, I don't like, I felt like I didn't know. I felt kind of like rudderless, like I was on a boat in the water, but there's like not like I can't, and it's like there's like a storm, but I've got no rudder and I can't do anything with the sail. Like nothing is happening. I'm just like stuck here.
How old were you?
That started when I was 18, and it continued till I was probably about this sort of like feelings that I was having probably continued till I was about 20 or 21.
Did you tell anybody? Like, I guess you might have told this drummer, or did you tell your parents like, hey, I'm in a boat?
They knew I wasn't doing well. Around this time, my parents were also thinking about divorcing, which I think they worked through. So it was just a hard time.
Was that a surprise to you?
No, because I knew that there was something going on that they weren't telling me. But when they told me, it was hard. But they got through it. They're okay now.
And so you meet this drummer.
Yeah.
And what does that change? Like, first of all, you have some personal rapport. Like you find a buddy.
Yeah. I mean, I really just did not have like a lot of face-to-face friends. I didn't have a lot of people that I could sort of hang around with. And the ones that I did have were all a little older than me. Like when I was in high school, when I was hanging out with people, I was not hanging out with kids my age. I was hanging out with college kids, which comes with all its own sort of trouble.
I was going to say, you doing drugs in college?
A little bit, yeah.
What kind? Like psychedelics, pot, or?
Yeah, I got pretty into weed for a while, and then a little bit of psychedelics, but I turned away from it fairly quickly because I was peer pressured one night into doing acid that was way more than I could handle. And it was with people that I did not trust, and it threw me way for a loop.
Okay, so wait, indulge me here. Like, what did that look like? Were you just like rocking in a corner, or like?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
that's an investment of time. You take a tab of LSD. It's not like it's over in 2 hours. Like that's like a 15-hour adventure.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was like I did not feel like truly normal again for like a day. And I had done acid before. Like, it wasn't like a new thing for me, but I think it was like there were some friends who were like home for the semester still, who they weren't really friends, but they were people I hung out with kind of out of desperation. And yeah, I don't know. They were just like, we're going to do acid tonight. You should come over and hang out. And I was like, I don't know that this is the best idea, but I was like, I'll just go over and say hi.
and then
I said a lot more than hi after that.
So did you experience your own death? Did you have was it like a dark adventure into like the recesses of your psyche? Like what
no, it was like paralyzing fear. It was this paralyzing fear of like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I'm like sitting here in this person's house who I don't really know them that well, and I just took this huge dose of acid, and I'm like freaking out. And
do these people even like me? Who are these people?
Yeah, like they don't really like me. He has a nice cat, but that's about it. The cat was good. The cat was good. Yeah.
Cat was holding, you were holding, the cat was keeping you steady.
Yeah, the cat was good. The cat was good. But yeah, oh my God, it was awful. It was awful.
Is there anything redeeming about it in hindsight? Like, did you learn anything positive from the experience?
I learned not to do acid with people you barely know again.
There you go. For those of you listening at home, that's your public service announcement for this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds sketchy. It sounds, you don't want to be in some unfamiliar setting.
I think I was kind of looking for answers too. I think during this time I felt like I was like, why am I feeling this way? Why, like, because there'd be no other reason for me to like, I mean, other than the peer pressure factor to it, which when you're like 20 or something is huge, but there was like no other reason for me to be like, oh yeah, like I'll just like take whatever. Well, it was some absurd dosage of acid on like a Wednesday night or something like that.
How long did it last? How long were you tripping?
12 hours, 15 hours, something like that. Yeah,
that'll do it.
Yeah.
Did you leave this weird house and go outside?
Yeah, I did, and that freaked me out even more. I think.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
damn.
Because
I was thinking you would like see a tree or something and be like, all right, okay.
No, well, it was at night. I remember we went out for a walk at night. Oh, and then one of them got lost. That stressed me out too. Like we couldn't find that. There was no sober mind there, like trip sitting us or doing anything. We were just a bunch of like 20-year-old goofballs, just totally getting in way over our heads doing this. So that freaked me out super bad. And then that's kind of when I realized, like, I think I have like a problem. Like I think I have like anxiety or something like that.
Well, see, that might be the positive outcome.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can't hide from this anymore. I'm freaking out and I need to dial it back.
Some kind of anxiety problem that I need to maybe get help for, or just also just readjust my lifestyle decisions.
Were you drinking? I mean, college kids drink. I mean, was it drinking ever get out of control or anything? Because for somebody who's anxious, I think alcohol can sometimes be like a salve.
Yeah, definitely. I was drinking a lot. I honestly, I think I was drinking more in high school and probably early college than I was. Like by the time I hit 21, I was kind of been there, done that with a lot of it. I was like, this is not attractive in the same way to me. I mean, I still drink, but certainly was not at the same level that it was when I was like 18 or 19. Like I felt like I was drinking all the time back then.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I feel like all of my like craziness happened in like a really like compressed period of time when I look back on it. It felt like it lasted forever, but it was really just like
a few couple of years,
and then it sort of fades out. It still happens here and there, but it's not like it was. There was just those first 2 years of college where things got really crazy.
Right. Yeah.
So you said you were really depressed and you were like suicidally ideating. Like it was only ideation, right? You never made like an attempt.
Never made an attempt. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was like too I mean, I think I thought a lot about like what people would think. I've spent a lot of time in my life thinking about what people would think about me, which is not good.
Like imagining your own funeral, like the turnout.
Yeah, I mean definitely have gone there. But just kind of thought about like why I don't want to make people upset. You know, like I don't want to. The thing that I really hate doing more than anything else is like disappointing people. You know,
you're a people pleaser.
Yeah, kind of a little bit.
I think most of us probably would fall under that. Like, how many people out there are like, you know what I want to do is I want to not please people.
Right.
Like, I feel like most people want approval.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I say that with a caveat of like I've grown up to be very like no bullshit. Like I've grown up to be very not tolerant of people's like just people's shit. So there's a certain level of like, because I have a little bit of background in the service industry, so
What is like front of house or back of house?
My mom runs a catering business, so I did all sorts of stuff for her. But
so you've seen the worst of humanity. Then you've been there.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a good education in its own way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it was really sort of helped me. Just I don't know. I identify terrible human behavior. I think that's like the strength that I've sort of been able to recognize the most, or sort of the tool that I've sort of developed the most as I've gotten older is that like I have learned how to sort of identify people like just human shittiness and how to deflect it, you know?
Well, how do you identify it and how do you deflect it?
I mean, I think that like, I don't know, when you see it. It's
yeah, you like know it when you see it.
Yeah. And I just deflect it by being like straight up honest with people, you know, about the way they're behaving or the way that they're acting or something like that, you know.
You're not afraid to confront somebody and just be like, "Hey, you're being an asshole."
I have no qualms with doing it. You
ever get into a fist fight?
Yeah, I've gotten into fights. I've gotten into fights. Not. I don't know. I mean, most of the time, like it was alcohol related. Like alcohol was involved, and it was like dumb kid shit. But yeah, I did confront somebody once, and we did get into like a fist fight because of like the way that he was behaving.
To you?
No, to other people at like a party that I was at, and I was just like, I'm not going to deal with this, which like is not, there's a certain level of like, you don't need to be a hero, which I figured that out pretty too. But, I think part of it also comes from like, when I was, like in middle school, when I was like middle school aged, I think I kind of like matured a little quicker than other guys.
Emotionally or physically?
Emotionally.
Both.
Emotionally matured a little bit quicker than other guys. And I kind of like this thing kind of happened where I started like noticing, you know, people's like sort of feelings about people when you're that age, like the way you feel about like your classmates or whatever changes like day to day almost pretty much. And I remember like having no problem with like going the kids and being like, dude, you guys were like friends. Like you used to be like friends with this dude a year ago or whatever. Like literally 3 months. It was the summer. 3 months have passed and you guys aren't talking to each other. Like you're not hanging out with each other anymore. And for some reason, like, I don't know. I think I developed like maybe a tiny bit of a hero complex, acting that way.
Like I'm gonna fix this,
right? Like I kind of felt like I sort of had to sort of step in and fix it, but then that sort of got toned down. That's gotten toned down a little bit, but yeah, I do remember there was a time where there was somebody who was just being like a real asshole to some friends of mine, and we were both pretty drunk, and I had to sort of step in or I felt that I had to sort of step in and
how did that go?
We both lost that fight.
But you just beat each other? You just beat each
other? We both just got tired, I think, and we were just like, fuck this. This is not.
Yeah, I'm bleeding. Let's go home.
Yeah, this is not good.
All right, so let's go back to college. You meet this drummer. You're depressed and like kind of like on the brink, and then you meet this guy who sort of helps you start to get into music in a serious way, and to kind of realize your ambitions in a way that feels tangible and kind of gives you like a mooring to the world, right?
Yeah.
And then what? Is that how you start playing in bands, like in a professional sense?
Yeah. Well. There is no professional rock band. There's actually no sense of professionalism in the music world. But yeah, I mean, that's how it started. Yeah. was that we sort of had decided that we were going to be in this band. We were going to do this sort of like seriously write songs, and we had a hard time. I remember we had a really hard time looking for other people. The hardest thing about being in a band is trying to get like 4 or 5 assholes to like sit down and like make noise with each other and like listen to each other, like actually listen to each other, you know?
Yeah. I think about this when I think about especially the bands who have these huge careers that last a long time, like the Rolling Stones, or I guess, I mean, the Beatles didn't last a long time, but they had this huge career.
Yeah.
Like there's an enormous amount of luck that goes into the fact, and serendipity that goes into the fact that these young people with this great musical talent, like all like lived near each other or met each other. Just the fact that they met.
Yeah.
And they formed that unit. Like that is not
and they
something,
had that chemistry.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you can't, that's why like when these bands break up, it's like, you do realize you're not going to be able to recreate this. Like that's like a 1 in a billion, like formulation. That's such a gift when it happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, we really struggled with it for a while, and I was like eager. I mean, I was like, we should just get out there and just like play shows as like a like a White Stripes kind of thing or something, like as a duo, and just do that.
Can you sing?
Yeah. I mean, the band I'm in now is primarily my project. So
what do you who do you sound like if you had to compare your voice to somebody?
I feel like most people point us to the Talking Heads. And which was by design. Like I'm really, that's sort of where my head is at, you know. It's where I sort of live as a musician, is that kind of new wave post-punk kind of thing.
Talking Heads are great.
They're fucking amazing, man. They were amazing.
It's like the ultimate art school band. Like
absolutely.
The ultimate,
absolutely, yeah.
It's like the art school dream. You form a band and it turns out to be the Talking Heads, and you know, but they didn't have a long shelf life. They sort of it was infighting, and they
were only around for about 10 years.
That was it.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's like a marriage. You know, you got to really like communicate. Everybody's got to feel like they're heard, and you know, all that stuff. So I'm sure you're managing that with like being in a band, like all the different egos and.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky. The group I'm in now, first off, is like we're like the best version of ourselves, of the band right now. I feel like we're just really, really, really on top of it. So I have a lot of enthusiasm about that. But then also, I don't know, I just feel like the chemistry is like the most important thing. And
like musical chemistry, spiritual chemistry,
musical chemistry. Like I mean, people I think are generally friendly, like across the board, you know, but I kind of also think that like there is sort of a sense of like you can maybe like just I think there's this sort of like thread among like amateur musicians especially, or school of thought, where it's like if you're like getting along with these people that like ask you to be in their band, then that means that like you're a good fit for the band, which is not always the case. Like you have to do something that services the music at the end of the day. And I feel like with the group we have now, I just feel like it's really we've hit sort of that mark where we have like great chemistry and really good camaraderie, and
you want like best of both worlds, where you're like good friends, like even to the point of like, I think after a while it's like a brotherly, especially if you start really young.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the Beatles, like John and Paul, like that was like almost like a brother.
15, right?
Yeah, that was a brother relationship, and I think that's kind of how it goes. But if you have that, and then you also have like a real musical chemistry, that's when I think it really works, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, so you're making music, you're like making a living as a musician, or do you work like multiple jobs?
I have a full-time job.
What do you do for your full-time job?
I work for the government.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Rock star who works for the government?
Yeah.
I feel like this should be a book.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's not that interesting.
So like what, CIA? Like what are you doing? Like you
no, I mean,
deep
I
state?
work with a contractor, and it's like HR stuff, human
Okay.
resources stuff like that.
Is it boring? Do you like it? What is it?
No, I don't like it.
You don't like it, but you just do it. It pays the bills.
Pays the bills. Yeah.
Lets you do your music.
Yeah.
Do you tour?
No, it's touring is really hard right now. I mean, it's always been hard, but it's really, really, really hard right now. It's like
Why?
the money that the costs you incur are astronomical. I mean, it can really, really ruin your life. I feel like there's just, so I have a lot of hesitancy about it. And plus, I mean, we're like fairly well known locally, sort of Baltimore, DC area, like within sort of like the DIY indie rock world. But like, I wouldn't say that like we're in a position where like realistically we can go on like a big tour, something that
you
lasted.
got a job. You can't, like, what would you do? You have to take time off, I guess.
Yeah, we'd have to take the time off. I mean, we all have jobs. We all work. Some of them are married and are thinking about starting families and stuff like that. So, it's really a hard commitment to be like, all right, well, we're just gonna hop in a van and go to California. See you in 2 months.
I think about that. Like these bands that have lived on the road their entire lives. Right. That's not an easy life.
Right. And they start young. That's the other thing is, they start really, really young. They're like 18 or 19 or something like that. It's not.
Well, that's like the time to do it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully by the time you're like in your 30s, you have a big enough following.
Out a path, right?
That you can you can make it manageable. But I think like sleeping on a bus, and I think that's an adventure that like after a while might sort
stops being an adventure.
Lose its right. You're like this toilet is problematic on this bus.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're playing music, you're working for the government. What about like dating, relationships? Like if you had a hard time making friends and getting to the point where you could trust enough to like build friendships, I would imagine that carried over to like significant others too.
Yeah, I've been fairly like alone. I mean, honestly, I certainly have had girlfriends and stuff like that. But it's not really a lot of super long-term committed relationships.
Do you know why?
I think there's maybe a little bit of a trust thing there for me. I think it's hard to it's weird because it's like I have no problem. The scariest thing in the world is like getting on stage and like opening yourself up to like a bunch of people in a nightclub or something like that. And that it's a super vulnerable thing to do. But for whatever reason, that's always been more easy for me than to be vulnerable
you're in control.
Right. Than to be vulnerable with like one person,
Yeah. You're in control on stage. Like it's like a contained universe. Like I have a friend who has like pretty significant social anxiety and just like anxiety in general.
Yeah.
And he's been a waiter his whole life.
Wow.
Like since we were kids. I mean, this is just like a 30 some odd years adventure for him. But I talked to him and I'm like, listen, like you have all these social anxiety. I mean, we know each other very well, so I can be sort of off the cuff about it. And I'm like, and yet, you're in this job where you're constantly like having to essentially perform. It's like a stand-up routine.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the table, there's a new set of people, you've got to like cater to their needs and ingratiate yourself to them and do all this stuff. And I was like, well, how does that translate? You've got social anxiety, but you can do this job and this is comfortable for you.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, because I know like it's in control,
right.
Like there's like a system in place that he's familiar with. He's even got like one-liners. He told me he's got like,
oh my God, wow.
like he's got like an entire back catalog of like situational one-liners.
Yeah.
So like if somebody drops their fork, he was telling me, like if he's at, this happens in a restaurant like 10 times a night. Somebody will be sitting at a table eating their meal and they'll drop like a utensil.
Yeah.
And what he does is he always like bends down and like he pulls this off as if it's the first time he's ever done it. But he bends down, picks it up, and then just like wipes it on his shirt and then just like hands it back to them. And they like, there's always like that moment of like, are you fucking kidding me? And then he like was just like, hey, just kidding. And then they have a laugh and he gets a nice tip. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he's got like a whole routine. So I think it's kind of the same, right? You're up on stage, you're in this nightclub. That's a situation that's like manageable, controllable, familiar. But like when you get into, and it's also like, I mean, it's variable, but it's not maybe variable in the way that like an interpersonal relationship with another human being is variable.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. But like, I mean, it's not like I've, not like it's not a world that I've like avoided altogether or anything like that. I've certainly had like really great, amazing experiences with people who have dated and been in relationships with, and there was one person who I met, and I thought that I'm not a big believer in like the notion of like love at first sight. I feel like it all sort of compounds on itself, and you sort of have to work. Same thing that you were talking about with marriage, like you have to work at it, So I'm not a big believer in the idea of love at first sight, but I did meet somebody who I thought was like amazing. Like it was just like I had just never met anybody like that person before, and we dated for a while, and then I could kind of it was on. Have you seen Before Sunrise?
Yeah.
You ever seen that movie? That's what it felt like. It was this like the first time we ever hung out, like went on a date, was we just like walked around the city together, and it was at night. And that was like and we went through like some shady parts of the city too.
Of Baltimore.
Yeah. So it felt like that I had never had that level of trust, that somebody trusted me enough, at that level.
You're like so engrossed in conversation. You like walk into the hood and just
it's like it doesn't even matter. Like nothing else even mattered. Like it wouldn't matter if we got stuck up or something like that in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what
it's
I
just
mean?
part of the adventure.
Right. Yeah. And it felt like that. And then I don't know. And then she got cold feet, and got back together with her ex after like a month. And so stuff like that has happened a lot. Like a lot of like
heartbreak,
getting hurt in that way. Yeah. I'm
what's
very familiar with heartbreak.
What's the name of that song? What's the name of the song? Come on, there's got to be a song. What's it called? You can at least tell me the song. Or no, maybe would that be too revealing?
Yeah, it might be too revealing.
But we can't confirm that there are songs. Maybe one song or multiple songs.
Well, so I mean, I don't necessarily write. I certainly write. You write out of experience. I mean, you understand that, but I don't know that I necessarily. I feel like I'm a little bit more abstract sometimes. Like it doesn't necessarily always come out. Like I'm not thinking about or channeling one specific person most of the time when if I'm writing songs, especially songs like that. So I don't know that I have like necessarily a song about that person specifically, but yeah, definitely have those feelings of like getting hurt or heartbreak or all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure shows up in my music. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I can't believe you don't get hit on after you're playing in some nightclub.
Not a lot. Not a lot. Doesn't happen a lot.
That's a shock to me. Do you go down and mingle with the people after a show, or do you just get out of there?
Yeah, no, I hang out. Yeah, we hang around. But I don't know. There's sort of a sense of like, it's not like it's never happened. Like it's not like I've never sort of had like a flirty encounter with people after shows and stuff like that. That's definitely happened before, but the frequency of it is pretty rare. I think people are generally like unimpressed by like white guys playing guitar and singing. Like it's kind of
those days are done.
Yeah,
the days of people being impressed with white guys playing guitar is like it's over.
Yeah, I think it's kind of over. And I mean, I don't think I'd find it that impressive. Like I find it impressive. Yeah.
I just, I feel like maybe you're not seeing it because I was kind of
Maybe not.
I'm from the Midwest
Yeah.
originally, and it's that thing like, is he hitting on me or is he just from the Midwest? Like I definitely have. I'll talk to anybody. I mean, look at me. I'll talk to anybody, and I think at the same time, I in my past would like leave some situation and somebody would be like, that girl really liked you, and I'd be like, what?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I do think that like guys need like a flashing green light. Like I think that's like a universal.
Not all guys.
Maybe
some
not all guys.
Some guys will step on the gas at a yellow. I feel like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely guys that aren't like that, but I think a lot of guys just need like a big, bright, flashing green light.
Especially nowadays, it's like I feel like you got to make sure it's good. You don't want to be you don't want to overstep.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. So there is that. I mean, yeah, there totally could have been people who were like hitting on me and stuff, and I just had no idea.
Are you on the what are you, a millennial? Like is that what you fall?
I don't know what I am, man.
Okay. But you're young.
Zillennial.
Zillennial. Yeah. Okay. So you're on the apps though? Like are you
I got rid of the apps. I don't do the apps anymore. Too sketchy, too many underwhelming encounters, too much frustration. I feel like
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I never did it. I met my wife before all that, like just before all that stuff happened. Yeah. So like I never did it, but I can imagine that it's just like overwhelming or just too weird.
It's no way to meet people, I feel. And it's not set up for you to meet people at all. Like that's not really why they make all that stuff, They just are trying to like make money off of your like I don't know, desperation maybe.
I think what you got to do is like you see some girl you're interested in, you just go up to her and you be like, "Hi, my name's Chase. I work for the government and I play in a band."
Yeah, maybe.
That's it. Yeah. You're in. There's going to be intrigue.
Yeah, no. I did. Well, I know. I mean, that works. I think people do appreciate that now way more than like a text message or something like that. Like post-COVID life, nobody wants to like try to connect with somebody behind a screen. It's I feel like I feel like the whatever 2 years that we were kind of locked in our rooms and stuff, it was like too traumatizing, too damaging for people. They want like a face-to-face ballsiness,
I think it's good. I think the more face-to-face human interactions that we can have, probably better off.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
How did you handle COVID? Were you writing songs and just like noodling?
Yeah, I mean that's really when I was in the band with that drummer, we were really close to getting a record done, and then it all happened, and we had to disperse. And I spent that time writing a lot of the stuff that is now sort of aligned with the project that I'm in now. And I
what are those songs called? Pandemic, the album? The pandemic sessions?
No. It's actually not pandemic music at all. It's just like it's music that's like I didn't write it from a place of like, it goes back to what I was talking about. I wasn't writing from a place of like direct influence over like the world events that were transpiring at that time. If anything, it was probably kind of escapist because the music is very like very dancey and very high energy and stuff like that, and very maybe sort of reminiscent of it's like party music, it's dancey, loud rock music. But during that time was sort of when I really sort of committed to the idea that like I was gonna try to find my voice as an artist.
Your parents ever come to your shows?
Yeah. My dad. I don't think my dad's been yet. He's got kind of a tough work schedule. it's hard for him to sort of make things happen. So I don't think he's been to any of our shows yet, but
he's heard your music though.
Yeah, he's heard my music. Yeah, they like it.
He's like, hey son, could you just kind of stretch things out in the second set?
Right.
Do you mind just maybe bring in another drummer and
right. Yeah, we bring a gong on stage.
You could just have somebody play the didgeridoo, son.
Right.
I would really appreciate it. I feel like that would add a dimension.
Yeah, just add in the Europe 74 style.
72.
Europe 72. Right. Sorry, excuse me.
The high watermark, I must say, the Grateful Dead's catalog. I feel like Europe 72 is about as good as they ever were.
Yeah, definitely. But,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to know about you in order to get the essential chase. Did I miss anything? Like, was there something that we did not talk about that I should have asked you?
I don't know. It's hard to talk about myself.
Do you want to have kids someday?
No, I don't. I could see myself getting married, but I don't see myself having kids.
And you think you're going to play music the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think I'll be making art in some capacity the rest of my life. Yeah. When I was a kid, I actually didn't put this together till recently. When I was a kid, before I had any interest in music at all, I wanted to be a movie director. Like that was what I wanted to do, which is like so weird for like a young kid to be like. Most kids like want to be like a famous athlete at that age. They want to be like a famous athlete or whatever, a rock star.
You're like, I want to be Fellini.
Right. Yeah. I want to be David Lynch. Right.
Who are your favorite? Like, that's a good question. Who are some of your heroes? You said Talking Heads.
Yeah.
And then what? Everybody, I feel like everybody's hero is David Lynch these days. I mean, for good reason.
Yeah. He's like such a like champion of like humanity. I feel like he's like, his movies are just like the best thing. I think it just like shows all of like the best and worst parts of it's like bearing everything about humanity out there for people to witness, and it's up to you to decide what to make of it. I like that a lot. He never felt the need to like explain anything. He let his art speak for himself. So that's definitely David Lynch. Nick Cave. I like Nick Cave a lot. I think he's an amazing songwriter and such an interesting guy. And he was one of the best shows I've ever seen. Like my dad and I went to see him it was right after his son died, actually. And it was the only time I've ever been to a rock show where he came on stage and it felt like spiritually something happened, like God entered the room or something. It was like immediately like the atmosphere changed when he walked on stage. It was crazy. I mean, it was one of the craziest shows I've ever been to. So I really like Nick Cave.
Why do you think that? What do you think that's just like how he is, or you think it had to do with like that kind of like that massive grief that he was carrying? And maybe the collective grief in the room? Was that what you were feeling?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of all that. I mean, I think he kind of carries himself a certain way too, where he has all of this. I don't know how much you know about him, but he has like all of this sort of like history of this long climb to like rock stardom, you know, and has dealt with all this like, you know, certainly drug addiction and heartbreak and everything. Like he's just been through all of it, you know. He carries all this grief and all this stuff, and so I think that like certainly like the version of himself now is this like person who's been through so much and can like translate that to a way that's like universally understandable, you know, universally recognizable.
Plus, you like trust him. You're like, okay,
yeah, like this is a guy.
He's suffered enough.
Yeah, this is
we
a guy
can trust
who knows,
him.
Right? He knows what
he's been there.
About. Yeah,
he's been there. Yeah, but it's also he's been there and he's not like completely broken.
Yeah, like he made it out okay.
Or like he made it out to the point where he's still able to like walk around and like sing songs. You know, like I think a lot of people that on its own can be like uplifting or like deeply meaningful just to be able to like see somebody sort of transcend.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a shame. It's a shame that it takes all that.
I know. Yeah.
You know?
Well, not always. I mean, I do think Jeff Tweedy from Wilco, who's another band that I really love.
I love Wilco.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I feel like that's exactly my demographic. It's
Yeah.
like I'm the guy who you would think like he probably likes Wilco, and I like Wilco.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were kind of the gateway drug for me for like music that was a little left to the dial. Because my dad would he had the Yankee Hotel Foxtrot album.
It's a great album.
It's amazing. It's still amazing. And I remember being a kid and listening to that and being like, what the fuck? Like, you're not even sure if you like it, but you're like, what the fuck is this? It's like
all my
so
favorite
mesmerizing.
albums are that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I listen to something, like I just know this from experience, it's not like a posture, but it's just like if I listen to an album or a song and the first time I hear it, I love it.
Yeah.
My affection for it will almost certainly diminish pretty dramatically on multiple repeat listens. But if I listen to something and I'm not sure what the fuck is going on, and there's some sort of like disequilibrium that happens, those are the albums that I end up loving the most, and that have there's the most to mind. Like you go back to it over and over again, you seem to like get something different every time.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So Yankee Hotel Foxtrot was a huge record for me in that sense, because I mean, you can imagine being like however old I was, like 6 or 7 years old, and hearing that and being like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, Jeff Tweedy had a great quote. He's got this book. It's his biography, which is called "Let's Go So We Can Get Back." I think that's the name of the book. And in the book, he has this quote where he says, "Great art is made in spite of suffering, not because of it," which I've always resonated with, because it's like yeah, you can be like a Nick Cave or whoever, like a Kurt Cobain type, Elliott Smith kind of guy, who it's like you live this hard, sad life, and all these things kind of go wrong, and that can be your art can be your outlet in that way. But I think that more often than not, I actually kind of think that like people who maybe didn't suffer or suffer in the same way, where they had like some enormous tragedy, actually end up making stuff that's like maybe more relatable or more recognizable in some sense.
I think if you handle it right, it maybe makes you more empathetic. When you've been through it, it's easier to maybe access other people who are going through whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
You know? That's the ideal outcome.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, but I always love that quote, because it's like it totally dispels, in one sentence, it dispels the whole myth of like the tortured artist stereotype, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can't like write from that place. You're going through something, you got to find some space to actually make the art that's not like completely like absorbed into the misery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There's got to be some oxygen for it. You got to be coming from a different place than like the pit of despair. Though I guess there's probably some great songs out there that emerge from the pit of despair, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even then, though, it's probably the actual act of creation. There was some distance, in some sort of psychic distance from it, right?
Yeah, well, I think that like I had sort of this realization that like, and it sounds obvious, but when I was like 16 or 17 or whatever, I didn't feel this way at all. But I was like, I had this realization, and it was, I don't know if you know LCD Sound System.
Sure. I don't know them personally, but I
like they're like one of my all-time favorite bands. And I had this, it was the same thing where I put it on, and I wasn't as familiar when I found them with sort of where he was coming from with his influences. And he's very, very derivative of where he comes from with like Bowie and Talking Heads and stuff like that. But what I love about that band is that like they're just fun. Like they're just having fun with it. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, like this does not have to, like rock music does not have to be this like self-important thing where it's like everybody's taking themselves really seriously, and there's this like sort of like I don't know, just this like air of like, I don't know, self-importance of this feeling of like I've suffered for this, so you have to understand. You have to like listen to this and understand it. You know, I've learned that I like fun music, and the best thing about LCD Sound System was that like he's a guy who like I think went through a lot of his own problems, and his own struggles and stuff like that. But he decided to remove like he made his art removed from that sort of sadness, or that sort of like that sort of sorrow or feeling sorry for himself, and made something that was like fun and wild and totally kind of off the wall and different and weird. And people really resonated with that. And so once I had that kind of realization of like, this can be fun. Like this can be fun. It doesn't have, I don't have to like make super serious indie rock that like, it doesn't have to be like, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't have to be like Nine Inch Nails or something like that, where it's like,
like what a relief. I don't have to be miserable.
Right.
Oh
yeah. You
God.
don't have to be miserable. It doesn't have to be this way. That kind of set me free a little bit, because I realized like that there was so much more. I could write from a distinctly different place than where maybe my head was at. You know. I also like country music a lot for that reason, because country music is all just stories. Like that, there's never like a Hank Williams or a Jason Isbell song that's like about them. It's always like stories. They're always coming up with stories and characters and stuff like that. So
you don't want to like write about yourself?
No, I mean, I think that like inevitably I do write about myself, but
just not direct, maybe not so directly.
Yeah, not directly. And I think that I try to reach more for emotions and sort of like things that are maybe more like universally identifiable, rather than stuff that's like exclusive to me and to my problems, you know?
Well, I hope you write a song about this conversation.
Maybe I
can
will.
Imagine it'll be called What the Fuck Just Happened, or Who Was That Guy? I certainly appreciate the time and your candor, and I wish you well with the music and with the government and with all of it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
All right, there we have it. That was my conversation with Chase, age 28, a musician from Baltimore, this week's character studies guest. Big thanks to Chase for talking with me. Great conversation. And thanks to you for listening. Again, if you're out there and you or someone you know would be a good guest for this character studies series, email me. The address is letters@otherppl.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this show wherever you listen. You can also subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and Bluesky. Sign up for the Brad Listi newsletter over at Substack, bradlisti.substack.com. And if you're a fan of the show, if you listen regularly, join the Other People Patreon community over at patreon.com/otherpplpod. If you want to join my book club or get an Other People t-shirt, you can do that at otherppl.com. If you want to check out my new company, it's called Deep Dive. And the debut course from Deep Dive is called How to Write a Novel, due out later this year. The website is www.deepdive.audio. Sign up for the Deep Dive newsletter and follow Deep Dive on Instagram and Bluesky. If you have 2 minutes and you want to do me a quick favor, please give this show a rating wherever you listen. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Rate it, review it. It helps the show in the algorithm. It helps it find new listeners. It takes 2 minutes. Not even. So coming up on Tuesday, my guest will be Emma Pattee, author of this month's official book club pick. It's a debut novel called Tilt, and it is available from Mary Sue Rucci Books. A great conversation with Emma Pattee is coming your way in just a couple of days. Stay tuned.